week one of college football is always so exciting because you have so many things that you've been waiting for, so many teams that you've been ready to watch, and having a rivalry game almost makes it, I don't want to say too much, but also it just makes it a peak experience. Miami and Florida playing in week one makes week one so much more intriguing. You have a number of exciting games, but having two rivals go against each other just makes it that much sweeter. We'll take a look at what these teams should expect in 2024, but also look at what we're going to expect in this game. Now, the Miami Hurricanes feel like they are going to be a college football playoff contender, and that's what makes them a little bit different than the Florida Gators. Everyone has been talking about the Florida Gators schedule. Everyone is kind of intrigued of, can Billy Napier keep his job? There's a lot of different perspectives, different narratives surrounding these two teams. Miami's, it feels like it's more positive. Can Mario Cristobal turn that talent he's recruited into a contender? And then on the other side is, what's wrong with Florida? Is Billy Napier going to get fired? Is the schedule too difficult? And now you get a chance to either feed into those narratives or dispute them. And that's what makes this game so intriguing. Now, Florida obviously is coming off a 5-7 season, a year in which the offense kind of struggled, and the defense, I wouldn't say was terrible, but also definitely had plenty of weak spots. Now you get a chance in 2024 to, again, dispute some of those narratives and make 2024 different than 2023. On the opposite side, Miami is coming off a 7-6 season, definitely had some really bright spots, but also had certain games, the Georgia Tech game, where you kind of felt like, what are we doing? And Mario Cristobal definitely has his own set of challenges to overcome. There are definitely some questions surrounding his abilities, but now you get a chance to actually put it on the field. That's the beauty of week one, is we finally get to stop talking about all these different hypotheticals. We finally get to put some of those things to bed. We finally get to see actually some objective data to go on. And that's really exciting. And having a game like this makes it even better because you have two teams that, it's going to be chippy, it's going to be passionate, it's going to be full of emotions. And that's what makes college football so great. Miami is currently a 2.5 point favorite, which, again, without the narrative surrounding Florida and Miami, Miami is definitely, like I said, on the positive side. Florida's been on the more negative side. But now we're kind of seeing, people are saying, well, yes, Florida's schedule is difficult, but what if they find a way to make a bowl game? What if they find a way to win 7 or 8 games? And that's a reason why this line is so low. Because Florida has plenty of talent, and because this is a rivalry game, it's going to be closer probably than people expect. If one of these teams finds a way to pull away, then that's what makes this a little bit different than you're expecting. But a 2.5 point line is very interesting. And there's not going to be a prediction for this one. We have a video coming out later in the week that is going to predict every week one game. So stay tuned for that to find out the prediction for that game. Now, the questions for both of these programs are very interesting. And for the Miami Hurricanes, the biggest thing is going to be, is Cam Ward actually the difference in this team? You've looked at what this team has needed. And obviously, it's not just the quarterback position, but the quarterback position is such an important one. And you didn't feel good about coming into this year with what you had. So you felt like Miami needed to get a transfer quarterback. Now, they did get a transfer quarterback, but it was not Cam Ward. And when you get someone from the FCS level, I think that you have certain questions about him, especially if you're a Miami fan. And they just didn't feel like that was a good spot for them to be in. Cam Ward was thinking about going pro and ultimately decided to hit the transfer portal out of Washington State. Miami went after him hard, and now he finds himself leading the Hurricanes offense. This thing is going to be, it's going along with that question, or one of the questions coming into this year is going to be, are Napier's guys ready for the challenge? This is going to be a tough schedule. That is not really disputable, but it's going to be a question of, has Billy Napier brought in the right talent of players and the right guys that have the right mindset to navigate a challenging schedule? And if they do, then you're not really worried about how this season is going to go. If you have a bunch of tough-minded individuals who are ready to handle adversity, then you feel like you're in a good position. Now, it's probably not going to be a team that competes for a college football playoff spot, but this is a team that can exceed expectations. That's going to be something that they're looking to do. They're looking to prove everybody wrong against this schedule. And that's obviously going to be difficult, But at the same time, if you have the right guys in place, doesn't matter what everyone else's expectations are if you have a different mindset and if you have the right guys in place. The matchup that I'm curious to watch with this is going to be Miami's wide receivers against Florida's secondary. This is a good set of wide receivers for the Miami Hurricanes. You have Xavier Restrepo, you have Jacoby George, you have Sam Brown coming in from Houston. Those are three guys that are going to make life very difficult. And Florida's secondary has a number of players that are really exciting. When you look at and then you look at Jason Marshall Jr., he is someone who could potentially play back in to being an NFL pick and someone who had a good start to his career, but maybe, has fallen off a little bit over the last couple of seasons. And he is going to have his hands full. That secondary is going to have their hands full. But I'm excited to see how they handle that challenge. Again, if you have the right players in place, does not matter who you face, they are going to be ready. Now, Florida has a number of talented players. Everything is going to start with Graham Mertz. Now, Graham Mertz is going to be under the spotlight because I think a lot of people, because you have DJ Lagway coming in, everyone's just saying, oh, well, how much time before DJ Lagway starts? How much time before we see Graham Mertz sit? Graham Mertz, while he's probably not one of the most electric players in college football, had a pretty good season last year. Threw for over 2,900 yards, had 20 touchdowns, only threw 3 picks. There's I'm not gonna say that's the best season, but there's a lot worse ways you could have a lot worse players you could have at the quarterback position. So maybe, yeah, it's not the best that you've seen. It's definitely not the best you've seen in Florida history, but you definitely could do a lot worse than Graham Mertz. That's for sure. Now maybe DJ Legway eventually takes over. We're gonna see him, even with Graham Mertz starting, you're gonna see him in the offense, but Graham Mertz could be a very good quarterback for the Florida Gators this year. Montrell Johnson, it sounds like he's going to still play. It sounds like he is after his procedure is still going to play in this game. We'll see how much of that is true. We'll see if that actually happens. But if he is back, you feel better about the running back depth. You don't have to tap into someone who's less experienced than him, especially with Trevor Etienne departing in the transfer portal. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on even before the game starts. Trey Wilson, I think, is set for a big year. He is such a good talent, someone who kind of flew under the radar last year. 538 yards and 6 touchdowns. You also bring in Elijah Badger from Arizona State. That's another player who does not get the recognition that he deserves. Goes to Florida. If that passing attack is good, it's because Trey Wilson and Elijah Badger are doing their things. We talked about Jason Marshall. He is going to have his hands full. That's not unexpected. People know exactly what Miami wants to do, and they know the talent level that the Hurricanes have. And Jason Marshall is going to have to cover a lot of those guys. But I'm excited to see how that matchup plays out. For Miami, Ruben Bain is the guy to keep an eye on. Ruben Bain is an absolute stud, going to be an absolute force for Miami this year on the defensive line. That's a defensive line that has a ton of talent, and they are going to be a big reason why Miami either has success in this game in disrupting Florida's offense, or it's going to be a question of do we have the right guys in place? I think you're going to lead more the former than the latter, but we'll find out. And Ruben Bain's going to be a really exciting player to watch, a future NFL draft pick for sure, maybe even a first round pick when it's all said and done. Well, we'll see what he can do this year. 6'3", 275 pounds, has good size, has great power, and he is going to be an absolute force, like I said, for Miami. Cam Ward comes in from Washington State. There are a lot of questions surrounding him, but most of them are going to be positive answers. Can he be the electric quarterback that this team needs to be? I think he's a great fit for Shannon Dawson's offense. Now it's just a matter if Dawson actually gets full reins of the decision making for the quarterbacks and for this offense. But if he is, I feel really good about where this offense is going. Xavier Restrepo is one of the guys he'll throw to. Jacoby George, Sam Brown. That's a trio that a lot of teams would love to have. Even with the loss of Colby Young, this is probably going to be one of the best passing attacks in college football, assuming that the things we just talked about do happen. The other guy on defense besides Ruben Bain to keep an eye on, Francisco Mauigoa, an absolute heat-seeking missile on the defensive side of the ball. 82 tackles last year, 18 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks. This is a guy who knows how to get to the ball carrier. He knows how to get to the quarterback, and he knows how to make plays. He will send a message at any point, and that's really fun to watch. And that's what Miami needs. This is the defense under Lance Guidry that is going to be aggressive, that has plenty of talent. They brought in plenty of talent from the transfer portal, and you feel really good about where they're at. Now, playing Florida in week one is always going to present some challenges. That's just is what it is. But this is a very exciting game for both teams. For Miami, it gets you off to a good start with a win to get that college football playoff spot on the road or on the way, I should say. That is going to be a fun way to start your year. For Florida, a win helps you exceed expectations before you even get halfway through the season. You're getting one game in and you're saying, hey, we don't care about your expectations. This is what our team's about. So there's definitely plenty of opportunities for both sides, and there's going to be a lot to watch in this game. It's a rivalry game, so everyone's intrigued about that. But there are two teams that have different sets of expectations from the college football world. And if they're able to win, it says a lot about each team, and we'll find out a lot about both of them when this one's over.